The first video on my channel is one in which I expressed my negative sentiments towards supposed AI in the tech industry. In short, I shared my disappointment with people who seem to believe that, despite being a plagiarism machine that undervalues the work of people in creative industries, somehow AI is a boon to programmers instead of a plagiarism machine that undervalues their work. At the end of the video, I stated that this was not what I wanted my channel to be about. My feelings on AI were something I needed to get off my chest, but not what I'm passionate about. I have done my best to grow my channel by talking about the things I do care about, and I hope the growth that I'm seeing in these early stages indicate that people enjoy the care I put into my videos and want to hear what I have to say. I had another video lined up. A script is written, assets have been made, and I began the process of recording B-roll. That video is going to have to wait though, because once again, I have something I need to get off my chest. The day my most recent video released, the one about Pac-Man World 2, I had a short conversation with my father about AI. As it turns out, his latest side hustle is to use AI to pump out assets and rules for board games with the intention of funneling them into Kickstarter. If they get funded, then he'll use that money to send the game to mass production, and if they don't, he experiences no loss because he invested minimal time, effort, and funding into generating the product. It's no-risk production for the goal of chasing a quick buck. My dad doesn't get why I hate this, because he thinks AI is the future. He thinks that my refusal to use computer-generated content is akin to deciding to remain a hunter-gatherer at the dawn of agriculture. He believes we're on the precipice of a technological revolution that will eliminate the need for human labor, that artificial general intelligence is just around the corner when we get more computer power and more data. He doesn't particularly care that large language models like chat-gpt are cannibalizing themselves because they've run out of new data and have to train on their own slop. He sees no issues with AI companies needing to change copyright laws so that they won't be charged for the crimes they've already committed. He doesn't see the environmental concerns with the absurd power requirements of these machine learning programs. He doesn't seem to care that a lot of it is smoke and mirrors, that much of what goes into supposed artificial intelligence is a mechanical Turk made of labor outsourced to countries with more exploitable laws and cheaper manpower. None of it matters because artificial intelligence will get more and better and more and better and more and better forever until it replaces human labor. My dad is the kind of person who always has to be right, always has to have the last word on things. The first time I visited after living on my own, he tried to convince me that my decision to be vegetarian was wrong, or pointless, or misunderstood my own personal code of ethics. When he failed to convince me that I was wrong, he pretended that the whole thing had just been a discussion and he wasn't really trying to convince anyone of anything. He has to be right about everything, and if he can't be right about it, he'll change the framing so that he was right the whole time. This has served him well in his sales career. It makes a lot of sense, then, that his current job is acting as an AI hype man for his employer. I could go on about why all of the things surrounding AI are bullshit, but I don't really need to. I don't need to talk about how the goal of replacing all human labor with robots and automatic computers is incredibly short-sighted considering that no one seems to ask key questions like, what happens in a capitalist society when no one can afford anything because all the jobs are automated? Or, what happens when implicit trust in computers to be right causes people to overlook critical failings in an automated system? I don't need to pull up articles or interviews about how all of this AI crap is nonsense, but I do recommend giving the Better Offline podcast a listen. There are a lot of technical and logistical reasons why the AI revolution is all just fool's gold, but I don't need to list them. In the case of talking to my dad, it also doesn't matter if I do. I used to be able to tell him that AI coding tools were not good at actually generating complex, usable code, that I had seen for myself that it didn't live up to the hype, but this is no longer a conversation he wants to have. I am rejecting progress. I am spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I haven't worked for a software company in over a year, after all, and so I must not have access to the information that they have. All of my ethical concerns about data theft and my logistical concerns about actual feasibility can be explained away. If you want to make money in this world, you have to move fast and break shit. Get your product out first, quality and consequences be damned. What's the point of all this? Why am I saying this? Am I speaking into this microphone just to talk shit about my dad? Did I spend all this effort editing my video so I could air out my dirty laundry? No, not really. My family life is something that I deal with in my own time and in my own way, but my dad is not a unique person. There are lots of AI hype men, lots of tech bros, and computer revolution grifters out there. There are lots of people out there who have to be right and have to have the last word. And if you're a person who's dealt with that against your own creative pursuits, I want you to know that you aren't alone. I wrote this video because that conversation with my dad sparked a lot of thoughts that I couldn't possibly articulate properly in a private conversation. And those thoughts should not have to be confined to a private conversation. So what I'm going to do is take a page out of the Hype Man playbook and change the framing. This video is my final word on the subject. You can write a comment or yell at your screen, but you will not change the words I have etched into this virtual stone. When I reject AI, I am not rejecting progress. I am rejecting fast food. I'm not standing at the precipice of a new age and choosing not to join the revolution. I'm looking at how McDonald's makes their burgers and deciding to instead put something healthier into my body. A McDonald's burger is a cold, heartless product. The person who once cared about it is a ghost, and the thing the company serves you is a massive food substance assembled by an underpaid teenager, college student, or laid-off engineer who couldn't give half a rat's ass about it. The product is engineered to be cheap and mass-produced, passing the health and safety standards it needs to and optimized for addictiveness. No one with decision-making power gives a shit if it's healthy unless there's a PR disaster. McDonald's is profitable, mass-produced, and ubiquitous, but it's not good for you. You don't eat McDonald's when you can afford better options and have the time to choose those better options. A burger made at a local restaurant by a person who cared about that burger, whose dream it was to open their own restaurant and serve people their special burger recipe, is always going to taste better, and it's always going to be better for you. Now, obviously, the metaphor does break down a little bit here, since McDonald's business model is not to steal pieces of burgers from local restaurants and mash them into the shape of a McDouble. But it's my framing, so that's not what we're here to focus on. You see, I've been making my own burgers lately. I have a part-time job that is just barely keeping a roof over my head. I work as a math tutor for elementary school kids. Lately, I've run into a problem where they don't want to do the workbooks my company assigns me to give out. The reason is obvious. These are the kids who need extra care and attention in their learning experience, and handing them a workbook that looks identical to the schoolwork they already hate clearly won't solve anything. So I thought about the issue, how to motivate them while also teaching them, and I found my own solution. No matter what generation they come from, kids want a lot of the same things. They want to draw pictures, tell stories, and play fun games. You don't need to know what a skibbity toilet is to understand that fact. So I made a tabletop role-playing game to help teach them order of operations. I took the time to think out mechanics and abilities and found places to allow the kids to express their own creativity. They pick a class and specialization so that I have an ability tree to funnel them through in the campaign, but their character and backstory is up to them to decide. They can draw whatever made-up character they want and make up as much or as little about them as they desire. We play the game on whiteboards. I read out a silly little scenario I wrote for them, and then they get into combat with a group of monsters that I draw silly pictures of on the whiteboard. They pick their abilities and targets, and then together we plug in their stats and dice rolls to solve the damage equation. I get to watch in real time as this collaborative effort helps them improve their multiplication and order of operation skills. The kids love the game. Sure, they probably like it because they don't have to do stuffy workbooks, but I know there's also a level of appreciation for the effort I put in. I draw my silly pictures and write my silly stories for them, and I put in the time and effort to playtest and print before their next campaign. One kid got very into character creation and wrote a detailed backstory on the blank side of their character sheet. For me, it's a personally fulfilling project, and I see that effort and passion reflected back in the kids. I'm putting in the effort to make the lessons fun and more accessible, and in return, they're much more engaged and attentive. I really don't think this would be the same if I just had DALL-E generate out melty pictures of fantasy monsters to act as set dressing for a campaign generated by chat-gpt. There is a part of me in the stories and amateur drawings I make for the kids, and it shows them that someone actually cares enough to try for them. I was elated when the kids agreed to try out my game, and I was so happy to see them respond positively to it. I nearly cried when I learned that they asked a substitute if they could play my game on a day I was out sick. When my dad had an idea for a board game, he could have asked me to help with it. I did, after all, go to school for game design and software engineering, and I have a lot of time on my hands as an underemployed person. We could have had a creative project together, one where he learns a thing or two about game design, we build some artistic skills together, and have a bonding experience creating art. Instead, he had a computer do it. He optimized out the joy of creation. His job is to fit the generated assets into a template, print them, and then funnel them into a production pipeline if he deems the results fun enough. Minimal risk, minimal effort, minimal investment, and minimal creativity. They aren't games, they're simply content, slop to feed to the pigs. No one cared enough to make it, so buy it or don't. There will be 100 more like it, and it doesn't matter if you steal it or generate your own. It doesn't matter if no one can own the copyright to it. It's not art, it's not an expression of anything, it's simply profit-seeking. Perhaps, when I'm done writing my story scenarios for my kids, I'll look into a method to publish and produce my game. This will take some time, but it will be worth it because I made something I care about that I believe can genuinely help kids. If any of my dad's products succeed or fail, it will not matter because the only thing he cared about was doing it first. If no one wants to kickstart the game, it doesn't matter because he can just generate infinite games until one pushes through or he gets bored and chooses another hustle. My games aren't my only burgers. This YouTube channel is kind of my restaurant where I get to serve up my own video essay burgers. The secret sauce, of course, is mayonnaise with a little bit of sriracha for that special pistol kick. I could probably stand to profit some amount of ad revenue by simply reposting television clips or trend chasing. I could use YouTube's inspiration tab to pick video topics for me, tell chat-gpt to write a script for me, feed the script into a character voice site, and have DALL-E or Sora generate images or video for me. I could even just outright steal long play footage to put in the background of my video. Recording B-roll is for chumps. I could slop out just so much content for the pigs, but I don't do that because it sucks. My Sonic Riders video became a runaway success because I released it on the tailwind of a new Sonic racing game being announced. The video was already in production, and I actually had to record an addendum and edit the video faster to get it out on time. I have lots of things I want to say about Sonic the Hedgehog, and I will continue to do so. But I'm doing it because those are things I want to say. My review of the third Sonic movie gives my honest opinion on the film and delves a little bit into the nature of adaptation, even if what I have to say doesn't line up with popular consensus. I'm also not solely focusing on Sonic. I have lots of opinions on lots of games, and I'm trying to establish a cadence of Sonic and non-Sonic videos so that both can remain personally fulfilling. My most recent video about Pac-Man World 2 is a personal story that describes and contextualizes part of my childhood. I don't talk a whole lot about the actual game. I just tell a story about how I was a stupid kid who was bad at video games until Pac-Man taught me to be good at video games. It's a short video, and so far the most personally fulfilling one I've made. On the day it released, I received a very kind comment thanking me for sharing my story, and that made me very happy. I don't want this channel to become a content farm. I want to dedicate real time and effort into making videos that I care about. When I talk about games or shows, it's because I care about them. I make weird, horny jokes about video games because I think it's funny. I reference my status as a transgender woman often because that is a framework that informs my perspective. I refuse to end my videos in calls to like, comment, and subscribe, and support my Ko-Fi because I personally hate hearing that in every video on the platform. And I hope all of this pays off. I hope that in an online culture that craves authenticity, where video makers hold their mics wrong because it looks more real, that my authenticity matters. I hope that people see my videos and find that they like what I have to say, and they subscribe because they want to keep hearing me have weird thoughts about games. I hope that people recognize the effort I put into my videos and continue to leave nice comments about how they enjoyed the thoughts I share. I hope that soon I start seeing some income for all this effort I put in, but if I don't, well, at least I was able to share something I cared about with all of you. In a time where audiences demand authenticity, where writers can be in my backyard striking against studios who want them to work with large language model generated content, where people are growing tired of slop content, why would you ever want to add more tires to the fire? Why wouldn't you want to create something yourself? It is now easier than ever to put your idea out there, and it's also easier than ever for thousands of shit-eating grifters to pump out their slop. When you have to compete with so many voices and so much slop, why would you ever rob yourself of the opportunity to make something you care about? That's all I have to say in this video. Genuinely, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll watch again in the next video. And for real this time, I want this to be the last time I discuss AI.